Hi everyone. Welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. All the juicy details are in our video, so settle in, hit subscribe, and share this story before we dive deeper. Thank you for being here. For weeks, whispers have surrounded Mahassine Merabet's private world, and the curiosity has only grown louder. Today, the veil finally lifts. In a candid and heartfelt conversation, she spoke openly about Cenk, Torun, the man who has shaped both her artistic path and her emotional landscape. One line from her reflections spread like wildfire across social media and sparked endless conversations. He brought me back to myself. With those words, hidden corners of their bond came into view, and for the first time, fans felt they were seeing a truth she had carefully guarded. Mahassine, one of the most talked about names in recent months, admitted she'd been living at full speed, chasing deadlines, racing between sets, stacking project upon project, and forcing herself to perform at her peak even when the cameras were off. She's long understood that success can demand a piece of your soul, and the constant push to be flawless had started to blur her sense of self. She confessed that she had grown weary, not just physically but inwardly, somewhere between early call times and late-night rewrites, between applause and silence, between expectation and reality. Then Cenk entered the picture in a way that felt like someone had quietly opened a window in a room she didn't realize had gone stale. After meeting him, she said, color returned to her days, and she recognized the person she thought had been lost beneath the noise of her schedule. But Mahassine wasn't satisfied with shallow labels. Their connection, she insisted, stretches far beyond simple romance. What binds them is a steady thread woven with attention, respect, and a willingness to stand shoulder to shoulder when life is difficult. There are rare people who sit beside you without speaking and somehow remind you of every layer of who you are, she revealed with a soft smile. Cenk became that person for me. Within hours, her words were everywhere. Quoted, reposted, debated. Some said they always sensed this side of her, while others were surprised by this naked honesty. Yet nearly everyone agreed on one point: she sounded unguarded in a way she never had before. She went on to describe a particular stretch of her career that felt like an unending marathon. There were days she'd get home and stare at the ceiling, feeling as if she were floating above her life, performing the role of a woman who could handle anything, rather than simply being herself. Everyone assumes you're okay because you smile on camera, she said. But there are moments when you just want to pause, breathe, and be human without apologizing for it. Cenk was the first to show me that I didn't need to prove my strength every minute. With that confession, she pulled back the curtain on a vulnerability she'd always kept under lock and key. For the first time, people saw the cost of composure on someone who had built a career on grace. The actress didn't stop there. She emphasized that her partnership with Cenk has deepened her craft. The way he listens, the way he asks questions after a long day on set, the way they sit with a scene and peel back motivations together, these rituals have enriched her work. They've learned to seek refuge in quiet routines, preferring simple nights to crowded rooms, trading red carpets for evenings at home where music plays softly in the background and they share a look that says everything without a single word. We love the kind of silence that isn't empty, she said. It's full of understanding. Fans flooded timelines with messages of support, calling her brave and calling them perfectly matched, while columnists predicted that the couple would soon become the most watched pair of the season. That unforgettable line, "He brought me back to myself," has already taken root in the public imagination. It isn't just a declaration of love, it's a signpost pointing to healing, to the quiet triumph of finding your footing again, to the relief of knowing you don't have to carry your story alone. Hearing it once would have been powerful. Hearing it from her, in that unshifted voice, turned it into a moment. The phrase now travels with her name, and it seems destined to echo for a long time to come. And the revelations kept coming. As time passed, Mahassine's connection with Cenk didn't fade beneath the weight of attention, it grew sturdier. She admitted that loving him gave her the courage to face herself in a new way. Reconciling with the parts she once ignored. The impatience, the perfectionism, the fear of being misunderstood, didn't come easily. I used to punish myself for every imperfect day, she confessed. But with him, I stopped turning every flaw into a verdict. In his presence, she felt fully seen and never judged, and that sense of acceptance reshaped her habits, her choices, and the way she talks to herself when no one is listening. It's the kind of shift people notice not in a single photograph but in the gentleness that lingers after the spotlight moves on. Of course, the pressure didn't evaporate. The grind of long scenes, looping takes, and the endless cycle of interviews can press hard on any relationship, and a life lived under scrutiny can twist even innocent moments into headlines. There were whispers, there were posts full of speculation, and there were days when the chatter felt louder than the truth. But instead of feeding the fire, they chose restraint. "We don't answer every rumor," Mahassine said calmly. "Not every story deserves our energy." They leaned into trust, and in doing so, discovered that silence can be a shield when it's shared. The very choice to let noise pass without response strengthened them, turning what could have been fractures into proof points of resilience. She also noticed a personal evolution that came with this love. Around Cenk, she found herself moving slower in the best way, less frantic, more rooted. The urgent voice pushing her to the next achievement softened, making space for mornings that begin with coffee instead of notifications, for conversations that take the time they need, for laughter that arrives without warning. Success still matters, of course, but she's no longer measuring her worth by how loudly the world applauds. "Inner peace," she said, as if the words had waited patiently for their turn, "is now as important as any milestone." Through him, she learned to cherish the small gestures, the small wins, the small pauses that add up to a life. This isn't just a peek behind the curtain, it's a different way of seeing her. In opening the door to her private journey, Mahassine invited her audience to witness the transformation she's undergone. One shaped not by sudden surprises but by quiet shifts gathered over time. She acknowledged that the uncertainties of her past, including moments when she doubted her place and her choices, have made her current peace all the more meaningful. "With Cenk," she said, "I feel like the puzzle pieces finally fit." According to her, a real partnership isn't the whirlwind, it's the hand you hold when the whirlwind passes and the world is asking what you're made of. Naturally, the buzz machine kicked into high gear. The interview clips were dissected line by line, while opinion pieces tried to decide whether her transparency was a calculated move or the rarest kind of honesty. But across feeds and comments, a consistent theme emerged. People recognized themselves in her confession. Younger fans in particular embraced her not just as a performer, but as a woman who chose courage over perfection, who publicly named the pressure and then chose to be gentle with herself anyway. That's not a brand strategy, it's a human strategy, and it resonated. She went further, reflecting on lessons earned the hard way. The rough patches behind her didn't weaken her, they taught her what happiness should feel like now. "Every relationship is a kind of schooling," she said. "And if you're blessed with the right partner, the lessons don't crush you, they lift you." With Cenk, learning has become an act of joy, a mix of vulnerability, patience, and humor that returns you to the best version of yourself when the day is over. It's the difference between performing strength and living it. Balancing the set and the soul might be the trickiest act of all, and Mahassine addressed it head-on. She admitted that there are still weeks when schedules collide and sleep gets trimmed to the edges. Yet with him, the life between scenes feels manageable. They plan, they compromise, they protect the small rituals that keep them steady. She shares her doubts and missteps with him not because she needs rescuing, but because love, to her, is a conversation that never ends. "When I share my mistakes," she said, "they stop owning me. We work through them together, and somehow, that makes tomorrow lighter." That sort of honesty became the guiding note of her story, the part that turned admiration into empathy. So here we are, at the end of a chapter that feels like a beginning. Mahassine Merabet has spoken. She has told us that the demands of her world once made her forget her center, and that Cenk Torun reminded her where to find it. She has shown us that real closeness can be both a refuge and a mirror. She has taught us that silence, when chosen with care, can be a powerful reply to chaos. And she has left us with a line that will linger long after the episode ends: "He brought her back to herself." Thank you for watching Secrets Behind the Stars. If you enjoyed our video, remember to subscribe and share. Until next time, we'll be here, watching the stories unfold and bringing you every detail that matters.